Hey all, it's me back again, back to read chapter 3 of my book, A Farewell to Earth. And this time, I have printed out. There's chapters 1 and 2. I read to you already from my computer. This is chapter 3 in full paper print. I got smart, and today I decided to print out my book and read from my book. Anybody who's listened to my previous recordings, streams, I hope you like this one. It's not as long as the other two were, but let us begin. Chapter 3. We are looking for pilots, mostly fighter pilots. A Centauri officer calls out as a female unplugs the jukebox at Dietrich's. Both members of the Centauri Prime Defense Headquarters, HQ, are in the middle of the Dietrich's dance floor. Any T-15 Talon pilots are welcome. Anyone with combat experience is a plus. Young Stephen, qualified on a T-15 Talon, rises to his feet to move up into the queue behind some 15 or so pilots to give his name and his qualifications. He steps forward to the table. He notices that Julia, his friend, had disappeared as soon as the two officers appeared in the bar. My name is Spears, Stephen T., Homeworld, Earth, he says as he steps up to the table. What are you qualified in, sir? The woman asks him to write his name down. At 1,250 hours on the Talon. I was hoping to qualify in the SFA 28B Y-Wing. The Empire destroyed the Earth. Stephen says, writing his name and qualifications down. But that was before you know what happened. Excellent, the woman says, nodding as she puts his name on a short list of pilots with his type of qualifications and hours on the Talon. Excellent. Please move over to the queue with the other pilots, with my commanding officers, sir. Please join Commander Ian Polk, the other pilots. He wrote his name down with the number of hours he has. Sorry, thirsty. Steven moved over to stand beside a tall, bald woman who looked as nervous as he did, standing by the pub entrance. He'd only heard of the Gazillion people and knew they were born bald, both men and women alike. He knew that her race was as smart, if not smarter, than an astromech droid, able to calculate 20 jumps to an astromech's 10 in seconds. You're Gazillion, right? He asks, trying to break the ice. Correct, I am Rigo El Rena, the woman says, looking at him smiling. You are? I am Stephen T. Spears of Earth, he says, trying to smile too. I'm so sorry. Earth was a beautiful world, the woman says. She was. Stephen says, sorrow in his eyes. We'll pay the Empire back for this travesty, Stephen, the woman says. Thank you, we will. Stephen says, perking up. So your last name is Rigo? Stephen asks, curious about her name. My last name is Rigo. My race goes by family name first, given name last, Rigo says. I assume your name is Stephen T. Spears. Your race is a more common way of naming yourselves. So my first name is Rena. So my full name is Rigo El Rena. Long ago, my race used to think we were the only bald-headed race in the galaxy. Till we encountered our first off-worlders. Then we were surprised, but never felt like outsiders when we started traveling across the galaxy. Some 1,000 years ago, my race, humanity, used to believe that we were the only intelligent life in the universe, Stephen says. But then we met the people here on Centauri Prime. Interesting theory, Stephen. Rena says, nodding. So if you pilots will come with me, we will now take you all to get you qualified on our starfighter fleet at our spaceport. The lead pilot calls out after some 75 pilots are signed up, and a woman pilot joins the lead pilot. Sep and Natuk join the crowd now too. They're some of the best known cargo pilots in the sector. All right, take a break. You're unnatural in the Viper, son, the lead pilot instructor says as the canopy rises above Steven's head in the simulator for the Y-Wing Starfighter Interceptor. Thank you, sir, Steven says, nodding as he takes his plasteel combat flight helmet off over his head and sets it on the control column in front of him. All right, anybody have any? Now, I'm going to say this before I go any further. Anybody have any suggestions or questions about my reading? Don't be afraid to ask. Put them in your comments. But please don't be rude. I'm the only person that owns this site. I have no mods. I have nobody listening, watching me yet. But I'll hopefully change. I've cleared you. Now continuing. Hold on one second. Yeah. Continuing. Have cleared you for Y-Wing combat, son. The older veteran pilot says as he writes some information on the large data pad in his hand. Thanks again, sir, Steven says, smiling. I still love the flight characteristics of a Y-Wing compared to the old T-15s. Digital fly-by-wire glass cockpit compared to the analog gauges of the Talon. Plus, I love that they paired the astromech to the Y-Wing over having to mate a mech with the old Talon. That was one weakness older pilots hated about the Talon, the instructor says. So while developing the Viper, as we call them, he decided to embed the astromech in the fuselage. It can calculate up to 15 jumps in moments, make repairs, and fly for the pilot during long, extended flights longer than 18 hours. I cannot wait to fly to real McCoy, Steven says, smiling as he climbs out of the simulator. Do not worry, you will soon enough. The instructor says as he taps on his data pad as Steven climbs down out of the simulator. An exact copy of the real Y-Wing minus the engines and such. How did I do, sir? Steven asks. You did better than most veteran pilots do after hours of flight in the Y-Wing, the instructor says. I'm going to recommend you for flight lead. As they chat, Rena walks up, smiling. How'd you do? She asks. Better than I expected. I had 30 kills in total. To the enemy target locks no target locks. Enemy target locks in seconds. How'd you do? I had 25, but was shot down on the first try. That was cleared for flight lead too. I heard too. Congrats. For my last mission in the Sim Imperials jumped me as soon as I left the carrier flight deck. I was still never locked on, Steven says. I was watching you, saw you You react faster than the best veteran pilots available, Rena says. They made me fly 4 simulations with 30 kills, no target locks by them, he says. Hold on. All right, next page. I have 4 simulations too, and they could not keep up with my skills, the Gazillion says. I hear that the instructors maxed out your difficulty, and still you were victorious with no enemy target locks. Okay. Take a break for a minute. As they talk, Princess Julia and her father, the king, walk up smiling. Your Highnesses, mostly bowing. According to my instructors, I hear that you two are the best pilots among the trainees, the king says, smiling as Stephen and Rena stand upright. Julia stands behind her father, smiling and winking at him. We watch you both in the sims. Your skills are amazing, well above normal for pilots of your level of experience on the Viper. Thank you, Your Majesty, Stephen says, bowing again. Thank you, sir. Rena says, bowing again. There's to be a briefing in 2 hours, the king says, waving up their bows. I wish for you both to be there. I want you two to be flight leads in this attack on the Dark Star. Okay. Stephen can see the look of lust and desire in Julia's eyes as she looks at him. They run off to a vacant simulator as the king and the other pilots walk away out of sight. Okay. Break for a moment. All right. Moving on. My friends, the time has come to take on the Empire in this dreaded Dark Star battle station. The king says as he stands before a 3D image of the Dark Star in schematic form. Behind him, the Earth President stands with other rebel leaders. We are to attack the station with our full complement of fighters and fighter bombers at our disposal. For if we fail, the Empire will destroy Centauri Prime, then move on to other rebel worlds. We cannot let this happen, ever. But thanks to loyal spies to the Alliance, we have a full copy of the station schematics, and we found a weakness in the structure of the station. Commander? Thank you, Your Highness. Stephen's instructor says, stepping forward now. He zooms into a close-up of the dark side of the station. Thanks to these spies, we found that these vents along the backside of the station emit high amounts of heat to create the tail common to top comets. These vent tunnels lead directly to the core and the power generator. We have armed our U-wings with new Mark 97B torpedoes armed with dark matter warheads. It's able to consume the station's artificially created black hole. Your Vipers, hang on a second, are also armed with space-to-space missiles armed with the dark matter warheads. Sadly, only the Y-wing and E-wing can enter these voids. Rena raises her hand. The instructor points to her. Sir, how do we get in and out undetected? She asks. We've developed a stealth version of the Y-wing and the U-wing. Those are fitted with cloaking devices, pilot, the instructor says. We have been able to assemble 200 of the newest F-28S Stealth Viper and FB-314S Stealth U-wing. and have complete schematics for the fighters. More on the assembly line as we speak. Interesting. Teams of pilots would be led into the dark side under total radio silence, and cloaking devices switched on. This will be a one-way trip for many pilots, but we must stop the Dark Star from reaching Centauri Prime in the heart of the rebel space. Okay. I'll only ask for volunteers, as we only have 400 of these new fighters. Sir, I know I'm only recently qualified on the Viper, but I wish to volunteer, Stephen says, raising his hand and rising to his feet. As do I, sir, Nina says, standing up too. Both rookie pilots get dubious looks from veterans with more experience. But for those who'd seen them in the simulators, word is spread around the base that these two rookie pilots were exceptionally fast and skilled. The narrator smiles as the two young pilots stand up. Excellent. I'm going to assign our best pilots to fly with these two people. They're to be assigned flights as flight leaders, the instructor says, smiling. Okay. Sorry. Let what happened to Earth and humanity not happen to the people of Centauri Prime, my friends. The king says as the instructor steps back and the king moves forward once more. As the briefing finally ends, the meeting ends and people begin to move off to pray and prepare for the upcoming battle. Okay, Sep and Natuk were also present for the meeting. According to the plan, the Eagle and Condor Squadron. Eagle and the Condor, another cargo ship from Earth, will lead the 200 fighters in and around the dark backside of the station to attack the station. In contrast, the fully assembled fleet of rebel vessels, the starfighters will lead a decoy attack on the front of the station. If the decoy operations underway, the actual attack on the station will begin with the help of some stealth fighters getting to the core and taking out the core and destroying the station. That's a lot of reading. Ooh. But all depends on the stealth fighters and the cloaking devices, where the Condor and Eagle are even now being fitted with cloaking devices during this briefing. The briefing over, Stephen and Rena are greeted by other flight leaders and squadron commanders. Many of the veteran pilots watched as the two were so adept at their piloting abilities. In contrast, many carried scars from previous battles. Rigo, the here is a Malgazelian pilot, walks up behind the two. Sir, you are my instructor, Rena says, coming to attention. Also, Tiger Group leader, correct? Correct. You two are with me. However, you will be assigned your flights. You both earned it. Thank you, sir, Stephen says, nodding. We will not disappoint you. Don't try to disappoint me. Try not to disappoint the 7 billion beings lost on Earth, son. The instructor says, resting a four-fingered hand on Stephen's shoulder. Come, let me introduce you to the rest of the Tiger Group and your teams. Rena and Tiger Leader start off to the hangar deck. Stephen sees Julia hiding in a dark corner by herself. He walks casually over, and then they go off to a dark, quiet place. Okay, hang on a second. Sorry, guys, I need to take a break. Come back to us. Come back to me, Ace. Julia says as they walk down the cavernous hangar deck filled with Y-wings and U-wing fighters, plus a few of the newer T-wing fighters. I cannot promise anything. This could be a one-way trip for everyone. You know as well as I do, Steven says. I know. I don't want to worry about that unless this operation does fail, Julia says, closing her eyes. Everything I know and love will be gone in the blink of an eye. Do not remind me, Julia, Stephen says, praying for his own family. Their whereabouts are unknown. Now that we have consummated our love for one another not once, but twice, I belong to you now, Master, Julia, she says, bowing her head in submission. Julia said, Steve, stop that, Steve says, smiling, lifting her head with his hand under her chin. When and if I get back, I plan to ask your father for your hand in marriage. Final page. Can't believe it. Last page of chapter 3. I love you, Julia, he says, leaning in to kiss her now. I love you too, Stephen, she says, returning the kiss. My friends, the Empire and the Dark Star are en route. Here, as we speak, King Alfonso K. Lurkin III says as he stands before senior members of the Rebel Alliance. Everyone in the world gasps. I have assembled a fleet of some 500 ships of all classes and sizes to take on the Imperial fleet and the station as well, head on. The king says, my God, may God help us all. The Earth President says softly, her 55 Earth EDC ships are among the fleet of some 500 warships, shapes, sizes, and classes. But the king had to put out word for any other available system sympathetic to rebellion to send. Every available ship they can send. They're assembling in an area 3 light years from the Sol system, better known as the Void. All right, my friends, that is chapter 3. 5 chapters from finished. I'd like to hear people's opinions on my book so far. You have any suggestions I could do to improve my stream? Please give them. Please don't be rude. But be honest. I'm not a. I don't. I'm getting more confident with my reading these streams. It's only my 3rd live stream. Longer than 7 minutes. My first would actually be 4 if you count the one that I just 7 minutes long. But it's been a good day. I'll read chapter 4 probably later this week. Maybe tomorrow. I don't know. I decided today I'll read chapter 3. I just finished reading chapter 2 recently, only a couple days ago. But we'll see what happens. I'm not afraid to read now. Read my book. There's a few stumbles in my reading so far because I've missed some typing errors and stuff like that, spelling errors in my book so far, but I can fix those later. But I want to thank everyone for your listening. Nobody came on to listen to me read, but it's being recorded as I talk to you. I just want to thank you all. Good night. Have fun. Bye.